So I've written a paper for a course on the philosophy of religion that I took this past semester, and it's chiefly inspired by Alfred North Whitehead, by the process philosophy and process theology of Alfred North Whitehead, and it's called Religion in the Modern World. And this question of the future of religion in the West has really been interesting me lately. And um, another thing that I've taken an interest in lately is watching a few of VenomFangX's videos, Sean. And the reason I've taken an interest is because I think really when we talk about the future of so-called religion, uh, we shouldn't pretend like, or at least I'm not going to pretend like I'm not talking about um, Christianity, Judaism, and a really Judeo-Christian Islamic monotheistic traditions, because religion doesn't really exist outside of the Western context, though Western anthropologists and scholars tend to say that the Indic and Chinese traditions are also religions. I think that there are reasons to distinguish Western monotheism, and I think um, ultimately Christianity, Judaism, and Islam um, are sort of self reinforcing traditions, though Islam in the West are at loggerheads at the moment, to put it lightly. There's still a deep homology, a deep similarity between these two worldviews. Um, and so VenomFangX is offering a particular brand, let's call it, of Christianity in his videos. And I think the core of all of it for Sean, and hopefully he will correct me if I'm wrong, the core of it is that a transcendent God external to the universe has power, complete and utter power over nature, over the universe, and that God is therefore supernatural. Uh, Now, of course, atheists and agnostics and scientific materialists have a big problem with this kind of a picture, and I think for good reason. Now, I would want to preserve what I find to be the essence of the Christian tradition and the Christian experience, the experience of Christ. But I would want to preserve it in such a way that it need not reflect a scientifically ignorant form of supernaturalism. Because for me, the whole point of Christianity, the real um, unique thing about its symbols uh, is that they all seem to refer in some way to the incarnation of spirit into matter, and to the inseparability of spirit and flesh. Um, and Paul is in his letters trying to show how we are, in a sense, complex beings. We're multiple. Um, we're not simple. There is an ego and a selfish entity within us, and then there is a selfless entity, a Christ being in us. And depending on which we identify with, we come to experience the world, the universe, as either fallen or redeemed, or as I would say, as dead or alive. Now, I think it's important to recognize that supernaturalism of the variety that VenomFangX holds to is actually quite similar to the mechanistic materialism that many of the atheists who oppose him hold to, because both of these are pictures of a fallen universe. The mechanist and the supernaturalist both see nature as essentially dead and mechanical, designed by an external architect for the supernaturalist, and uh, for the atheist designed by nature, by a process of random natural selection, or purposeless natural selection. But still, the idea that the universe is a dead thing, a mechanism, a giant machine of some kind, is believed to be true by both the supernaturalist and by the mechanist. And I think, really, if religion is to have a future, we need some sort of new synthesis, between science and religion, so that God becomes natural. God becomes the soul of the universe rather than the master of the universe. Because if it is true that the Word became flesh, then absolute spirit is no longer separate from and above the universe itself. So the death and resurrection of Christ is also the death and resurrection of the entire cosmos, the entire created world of matter. So I think, Christianity is dying to be cosmologized, and cosmology is dying to be Christianized. No matter which direction you look at it from, the major challenge for the 21st century in terms of rejuvenating the metaphysical basis for civilization, which is to say, reimagining the motivations underlying what wakes us up and gets us out of bed in the morning in order to create the world. If it is to have a future, the major challenge is going to be finding ways to express matter as the growth of matter in organic form as the revelation of spirit, of an underlying spirit that's not separate from that matter. I think the trick is to come to see God not as a creator, but just as much a creature as any of us. Whitehead speaks of two ultimate principles: creativity and God. God is the first, or the primordial creature of creativity. God is sort of the restraint or constraint upon the just continuous onrush of novelty, which is creativity is just this pure potential of infinite forms. God is the one who values a certain particular form and tries to lure the universe toward one trajectory which God has found most beautiful and most good. And God does this from the inside out through moral persuasion rather than external manipulation, as in the case of the supernaturalists engineering God. That's the challenge, I think. How to conceive of a living universe which is not merely material, but is divinely material. We need to find a way to recognize the similarity between, or the analogy between, cosmic intelligence and human intelligence, between the macrocosm and the microcosm. We must remember again the way that the divine unites heaven and earth in a single, though complex, vision. So that's what I think. I'd really be curious to hear what Sean thinks and what anyone else thinks about this. So, let's see if there is to be a future for religion and for Christianity in the 21st century.